joining us for our final gallery stage performance with our artist-in-residence, Vienna, Carroll, and performer Keith Johnston. Before we start today, since it is the last performance, I just want to talk about some of the contributions that they've done for the Hudson River Museum, okay? So, in addition to performing 6 Sunday gallery stage performances, where they have provided historical context and perspective, particularly on the African-American experience, using the local lens of the hills, with their powerful and well-researched storytelling, they have also trained our museum docents and junior docents, provided a workshop for teachers back in October for our open house, and I've done workshops with our Dotson Partnership 4th graders, and will continue to do so with the 7th graders next month. They've made a huge contribution to our appreciation of the African-American experience of the Civil War and contributions to the Union, both in content and delivery. We hope that you, our visitors, have enjoyed their transformative performances as much as we have enjoyed and been proud of presenting them. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming Vienna, Carroll, and Keith Johnston.
Good afternoon, folks. Hello. All right, good to see everybody here. My name is Nate Odell, and we'll be here sharing some stories with you. All right, is that all right? I'm waiting for my friend Mama Lenny. We're a little bit tired. We've been traveling from century to century, telling stories about this great nation's history. So I hope you don't mind. We started out with Lincoln, and we went through Frederick Douglass and some of the generals and all the Civil War. So today we're going to be looking at Harriet Tubman. Everybody heard of her? Yeah. All right, so we're going to do some of that. You know, our history is very complex. I mean, I tell you, this century, what year is this? What year is this, young man? What year are we in now?
2017.
2017, wow. Wow, I was born in 1839. Yeah, so I've been traveling quite a bit, just changed, you know, so my family's from the hills, up in Westchester, up here, White Plains. I was born in 5 Points. My parents there were ex-slaves, and I was born free. So we're going to share some stories with you today. Now, I'm a little curious about what's going on in the world today. People are not so friendly anymore. Everybody's walking around with these light boxes. What are these things? Everybody seems to be locked into these little light boxes. I asked one young lady, and she said it's a cell phone. Well, she said it was a cell phone with a C, not an S. So I left that alone. I've been running away from those cells all my life. All right? So this here is an Anglo-African. This is where we get all our information. But can y'all sing something for me? The line is "You Better Mind." That's your line. See how we do? We're going to have a conversation. Is that all right? We're going to talk a little bit. So we want to make sure that everybody getting. I'm waiting for Mama Lean, but I guess if I start playing, she'll just come on in. Especially if y'all join in when you hear it. Your line is "You Better Mind." All right?
You better mind how you talk. You better mind what you're talking about. You gotta give an account and the judgment. You better mind. You better mind how you sing. You better mind what you're singing about. You gotta give an account and the judgment. You better mind. You better mind. told you my name is Mama Lee. My born name is Elizabeth Selena Lucretia Purdy. But you can call me Mama Lee. And I come from the hills, same as Nate. And my family got started there in the hills when we got freed by some Quakers, and they gave us a bit of land. And the Quakers was freeing their folks. And Methodists, some of the Methodists did that too. And they gave us this parcel of land. We started our own little village called the Hills back there in the 1700s. And 1827, why freedom came to everyone in New York, so families could unify and folks lived there. And we made our way in that little rugged farm community.
Nice.
Yes, Now, I lived on Stony Hill Road, and you may have heard of one of my neighbors. His name was Simeon Tiercy. And the reason why you may have heard of him was because in 1861, when Mr. Lincoln came to Peekskill, why Simeon Tiercy was one of the people that was the person that built the platform that the president stood on.
He was
Now,
our resident carpenter.
Yes, he
built
was.
a lot of stuff, yeah.
Now, I don't believe I told the people where the Hills was, right? It was right there outside of White Plains, tucked up there by North Castle and Harrison. It was a nice little community, had stone walls. If you didn't know where you was going, you would miss it.
That's right.
But it was quite a lovely community there, and Simeon Tiercy, he lived there, and the Butler brothers, they lived there. I believe that's them over there, the Butler brothers, and the Gilchrists. I believe that's Mr. Gilchrist.
I think he holding the flag.
Oh no, there's Mr. Gilchrist up there, and I believe he joined Simeon when Simeon went into United States Colored Troop in Rhode Island, right?
Yeah, they one of the first to join the colored troops in Rhode Island. And Simeon Tierce joined the 14th Regiment in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And 13 other men from the hills joined as well. The Barker brothers.
Yeah.
You know, the Seymours. And then they had the 29th Regiment in Connecticut. 16 of our folk from the hills joined that regiment too. I think altogether about 36 men, able-bodied men out of 52 joined the colored troops. I mean, we talking about men in their 40s and 50s joining as well. I would have joined myself, but my glasses, I couldn't see too well. I tried twice, but I tried to fake them out, but I couldn't join. But we all have our fight.
Right.
But it was a holy war.
That's right.
And so we fought because simply, you know, you're talking about slavery. This was a way to legitimize our manhood. We were men.
That's right.
And so joining the colored troops, we were fighting our own war.
Yeah, and they talked about that in this Anglo-African a lot, the Holy War. And the war was holy not only to men, but the war was holy to the women too. And the one woman we've come today to talk to you about is Miss Harriet Tubman, who was the Moses of our people.
Oh, oh man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Holy
she
war.
was some woman.
That's right.
I mean, the Moses. They talked all about her here in the 1861 version of the Anglo-African.
Yeah.
She was the Moses, anointed by God.
Yeah, she was.
And this woman, I mean, you think about what she has done. She just did everything.
Yeah, well, she wasn't the only one, but
yeah, she was the most famous.
That's right.
But everybody, there was lots of folks that was free and enslaved.
Yeah, that went back and got their families. Some people say she did 19 trips. Some people say she did only 11 trips. Only 11 trips.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, but you know, I think she ran away with her two brothers, first of all, right? And then they came back because one of the brothers had a family, and then she decided, no, she didn't want to be sold south, so she ran away again by herself, left her husband in 1849, and then she got her niece and finally her two brothers there in 1851.
Well, you know, you think about it, people think about how did you do it?
Yeah.
How could she do it? There wasn't no what you call into the net thing that y'all have now, and there was no, running the cars and all that stuff.
Cell phones, none of that.
And half of them couldn't read or write. So you think about how did they do it?
Yeah.
Well, this is a grapevine, right? There was a pretty sophisticated network. She had a network, what they call a slave grapevine. Now that's the real Underground Railroad.
Yes.
Right? That slave grapevine. And then, you hear about all of that. So, well, Crazy Bet will tell you all about that.
Oh, yeah, Crazy Bet.
Tell them about Crazy Bet.
Now, Crazy Bet, I believe her real name was Van Loo.
Yeah.
And she was a rich white woman in Richmond, Virginia. But she was opposed to slavery, and she had she had a spy network there, and she worked with a very famous black woman who was freed named Mary Bowser. And she was able to put Mary Bowser in the Confederate president's house, Jefferson Davis, for 2 years to spy right up in his house. That's Crazy Bet. And so what was it Crazy Bet said about the information?
Well, she said the most reliable information she would get was from the Negro.
That's it.
Because they were all in the mix-up.
Yeah, that's right. And so Miss Tubman, she had her own network of reliable information, so she could keep going back and forth, and she was never caught, and she never lost anyone. And so later on in life, she honored some of the people that helped her in her southern network, because we know the folks in her northern network, the Quakers there named, etc., and the folks that helped her. But she talked about a Reverend James Green, and she talked about some these two brothers. I think one of them was named Nate.
That's right.
And their last name started with a B. What was it, Brinkley or Buckley or?
Talking about Nate.
Berkeley. Anyway, these two, and she had all these safe houses and places in the South. And she also had her songs. So, she would sing her songs so that they would know she had arrived. She would sing her songs so they would know she wanted to have a meeting. And she would sing her songs when it was time to go.
There was some network, they said, she carried a gun.
Yeah.
She was no joke.
Right. And I wanted the one song that she sang.
What was that?
Called Somebody's Knocking at Your Door. Somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door. Okay, you know that song now, right? Sounds like Jesus, somebody's knocking at your door. Sounds like Jesus, somebody's knocking at your door. Oh, sinner, why don't you answer? Somebody's knocking at your door.
That was one of them songs.
Yeah, that's
you
one
got
of
to
them.
think about they used songs.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
They used quilts, had maps on it. They had little marks on trees. It called it was a peg leg and a foot.
Yeah.
There were all sorts of different systems. Right? They'd shift the aprons sometimes, put food on the aprons with little things, and there's lots of different things that they did.
And I heard she went back only in the winter.
Well, she carried a gun. She never used it, so we don't know. I'm quite sure she must have.
Yeah.
And she made 19 trips back and forth.
Yeah.
However, she would only go in the winters. About twice a year or so, she'd go back down in the winter because the days were shorter and it was dark. And she would leave on a Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah, this way, they have roll call for all the slaves, the enslaved Africans, I should say.
Yeah.
Right? On Monday morning.
Yeah.
So, they leave at night through the backwoods, the back roads, and so by the time they have roll call, they would be miles and miles away.
Well, that was
That's
something
some
else.
sophistication.
Yeah. And she did that, and I believe she also had affliction in her head. What happened to her head?
Well, she went through a lot of stuff. You know, she
Yeah.
was passed around from one plantation to the next as a child. You know, she's about 7 years old. She would get whoopings for falling asleep while she was, you know, taking care of the mistress baby.
Yeah.
One time she got beat so bad because she bit an apple. She was an apple picker for another plantation.
Yeah.
You know, those scars stayed with her till she passed away. But the head injury, the slave master had threw a metal weight at one of the slaves that were trying to escape, and it hit her in the head.
Oh my goodness.
And so what happened was, from then she would get these periodic headaches, or sometimes epilepsy attacks, or she'd fall asleep. However, she endured all of that, but she would always have these visions.
Because she believed in the Lord.
Oh yeah,
And
she
how
was
he was helping her.
very religious.
Yeah,
She would have these visions, the Lord guiding her along the way. Yeah, but she and you know, she would leave at night.
And she got married, right?
She got married.
At 19.
Was 19 years old. She married John Tubman.
Yeah, because her name wasn't even Harriet at first.
Ross was her
Her
last
name was Araminta.
Araminta.
And they called her Minty.
And that was a religious, you know, ritual. You take your mother's name. So that's how she come to be Harriet Tubman.
And I believe when she met, because her husband was free, right?
Oh, he was a free man.
Enslaved, but her husband was free.
They did a lot of that back then. Free and slave marriage.
Mixed up.
So she went and hired out a lawyer.
To
try and, you know,
tried
she said,
to see if
my
she
husband's
wasn't free.
Why am I not free? None of that worked out.
Yeah, because her mother was supposed to get free when she turned 45. It was in the will, but you know, they ignored that will and passed people along, and next thing you know, they done sold 3 of Harriet's sisters south. And she said, okay, no, that's not going to happen to me. And I believe that's when she made that first trip with her brothers, and they turned back, and then she made that second trip and got all the way to Philadelphia, and she lived there and worked and saved her money. And then she heard that her niece, her favorite niece, who was also married to a free man, I believe he got word to them that they was going to sell the niece and the 2 children.
They were selling it, you know. That went on. The first couple of trips was she was going back for her family. The first time she left, you know, her husband didn't want her to, he didn't want to leave. He had a network, he was a free man, she wanted to go north. But so she went with her brothers, but one of the brothers had some children. He decided he wanted to go back, so that was a failed trip. So she went on her own.
But what happened with the niece?
Oh Lord, that story there. Her niece and her husband and children, they were over the auction. And they were, you know, for auction, and so the auctioneer went off to dinner.
He went to dinner.
So, you know, her husband, who was a free man, he ushered them over to the docks, got them on a boat, and they took the boat all over to Baltimore, and Harriet was there waiting for them, took them up north.
Now, when you look at that thing, just think about that thing. The auctioneer went to dinner, and while he was at dinner, all this happened. You know, he ain't never gonna forget what he ate at that dinner, right?
And if he got a boss, that was his last supper.
And he went to, while he was at dinner, they got a boat, they got in the boat, they crossed the water, and Miss Tubman was there waiting for them. Now that's quite a network. And they had that network, come here. They had that network without a phone, without a cell phone, without a text, without a carrier pigeon, and they just managed to do that thing there. They worked that out. Yes, indeed.
She carried a lot of folks, and you know, she worked as a cook and a domestic, did all of this liberating with her own money.
With her own money.
Can you imagine that?
Would save up her money so she could go back and free more people. And she took all them trips, and she never lost nobody, because she had her network there, and she was the Moses of the people. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Yes, indeed, she was Moses. Yes, and she worked in the Civil War too.
Well, she was an advisor for the Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, she was working for the Union. She was a spy, a nurse, a cook. This woman was amazing.
Yeah.
She went on and on, but she was an advisor. She also trained a lot of the Negro males down south to be spies.
Yeah.
And she led several revolts down south. You know, she did quite a bit.
Right.
You know?
And when she was at that fort down here in South Carolina, she established a network, and she was able to find out where all the mines was, the water mines was in the Combahee River. So when she led that Combahee River raid, she was the first woman to lead an assault in the Civil War. When she led that Combahee River raid on June the 2nd, 1863, she was able to guide them ships, it was 3 ships, past all them river mines in the river, and up to the ferry at Combahee, and the soldiers got out of the ships and they destroyed all those rich southern estates and the supplies. And then when they got back on the boat, she had told the people, listen, be at this place and this place and this place if you want to be free. And them ships, when they went back down the river, they picked up the people. And you know how many people they picked up?
Oh.
They picked up more than 750 people that night. Now you know that's something, right?
That's something.
That night.
Think about this woman.
Yeah?
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
Over 300 people back and forth, 750 people there. You know, that's over 1,000 folks that she responsible for freeing. And you know, it took about 30 years for her to get any kind of money for what she did.
Yeah,
for
the government didn't give her no pension or nothing.
No.
Yeah.
She used her own money for all that liberating. And I mean, she made some money as abolitionists would pay her for speeches and whatnot. But she actually she built a school down south. They called her illiterate, but you can't be illiterate and be that smart.
That's right.
Right? Literacy is a funny thing. It's not only about reading and writing on paper. You know, she was shaky with that, but she could read the sky, the trees, people. She had knowledge of the herbs, the hill, the water, the swamps, moving through the swamps and all through those states and up to Canada, back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, you can't be no dummy. So she built a school for those folks. She also built a laundry house up in Auburn and an old folks home, which is where she retired in Auburn, New York. She was about 92, 93.
Yes, I believe she died on March 10th, 1913. Yeah.
Oh, you know something? She had a row of apple trees where she lived. She planted apple trees. You know why? And she couldn't eat that apple when she was a child. Right? I know that's one thing she did for herself. But she lived her whole life taking care of other people.
Yeah, for the betterment of other people. That's right.
No.
Yes, she did. So let's give Harriet Tubman a round of applause. You better mind how you talk. You better mind what you're talking about. You gotta give an account after judgment. You better mind.
better mind. Come on, y'all.
You gotta give an account at the judgment. You better mind. You got to give an account at the judgment. You better mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vienna, Carroll.
Keith Johnston. All right. I want to thank you all for being here, and I especially want to thank the Hudson River Museum for giving us the opportunity to share some of Westchester's really lovely history with you, especially the history of the colored people who lived in the Hills community, which was a thriving community up until about 1925. And we have been very, very honored to present the history of those folks and be able to share it with you in this venue with the lovely there, Mr. Lincoln and his people. And thank you all again for being here. Yes.
Any questions, comments before we leave?
Yes, ma'am.
What is at the location where the Hills was now?
I think it's in the woods. Fortunately, it's not a car park.
Yeah.
And I did the research from a book a woman wrote called Freedom's Journey. Her name is Professor Edith Ann Quinn, and I spoke to her on the phone, and she said, there's a walk up there. I haven't had a chance to go there. There's a walk up there, and you can go there, and maybe you can see remnants of the cemetery and the foundations of where the people lived at. Last week, we had some folks who thought they might know where it was. That was very exciting. Yeah.
I have a professor friend at Brown that knows the area. He grew up in that area, and he was talking about it's sort of a dip down. If you go by, you wouldn't even see it. There's a stony area where they lived inside this own, had their own community. There's a whole lot of information about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those who lived in that area.
Yes, sir. You had a question, young man. No, you. Why are you looking back there? Didn't you have a
You have a
question?
question?
He was stretching.
No?
No.
Okay. Oh, you was just stretching.
You know all about Harriet Tubman, right? No?
Oh, but now you do.
You something?
Yeah.
What were the 3 towns where they stopped along the river with Harriet Tubman in the book?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Towns.
Where the 3 places that they stopped along the river?
Oh, I don't know.
Um,
I don't know. But she told them, listen, be here, be
Yeah.
here, be here. They were pre-designated spaces, so when the ships came, the people was there, and they brought their farm animals. Some came with their goats and their pigs, and you know, and they just brought all their stuff, and they came on, got on the ships. Yeah.
Can you imagine all those back roads, swamps, and
Yeah.
Delaware to Pennsylvania, up through New York, Boston. Yeah, it's
And that was 1863. You know, the war wasn't over till 1865. So that was kind of in the middle of it. You wonder how that could have happened. You know.
and it just got worse. You know, her first escape was in '49, but once she got to the Free States in 1850 was that Fugitive Slave Act.
Yeah.
So here's a law that's sending people back into slavery. So
Yeah.
she was now a fugitive.
Yeah.
And so now she had to start moving people to Canada.
Right.
So she stayed in St. Catherine, Canada, and Ontario, back and forth. You're talking about long trips back and forth. She did about twice a year. That's a lot of work. Yes.
Oh, well, I guess I don't know how big they were, my darling, but they were Army ships, how big the Army ships were back then. I know the one ship that she was on the one ship that had about 150 soldiers from the United States Colored Troop 2nd South Carolina Regiment. So it had to be big enough for 150 people, but I can't say exactly. Yeah, but there were 3 of them that went there. They were Army warships at the time. Does anybody know? And do we have any Civil War buffs here that know? No? Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Well, happy Black History Month.
Yeah.
Thank you all. for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again. All right.
Thank you.